You're listening to Two Girls, One Crossword.
We're kind of matching today. Did you realize?
You mean we're both wearing like seafoam green type situation?
Yes. We're in our comfy clothes tonight.
Green is elite. I just like, I need to buy more colors, but if something comes in a green option, I will probably get it in green.
I love a good green.
That's us.
We don't hate green here. We like green.
Wait, okay, what was your favorite color growing up and what's your favorite color now?
My favorite color growing up is the same as it is. Well, they're the same.
Uh-huh.
Forest green.
Forest. Oh, you have a specific green.
I do.
Green was also my favorite color when I was growing up. It was like I was green and my sister was blue, but I used to be pink. And then I switched to green and then I was anti-pink because, internalized misogyny.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then I dabbled in purple for a bit. And then, black was it. But like, I don't count that as favorite color, but I do like black a lot.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And now I'm officially green is my official favorite color.
Okay.
I don't know what my favorite shade though. I like
Chartreuse.
Emerald. I like chartreuse and I like emerald and I also
Mm-hmm.
like Kelly green. I can't choose, but that's the beauty of green.
That's the beauty of green. There's
you don't
so
have to
much.
choose.
I mean, olive green is gorgeous too. Like, how do you pick, really? I'm going to echo your point. I also used to really love pink. Then I went through I hate pink because I hate women phase. And then I'm back on my pink bullshit. Like, I say that my favorite color is green, but like literally every accessory that I ever buy now is pink. So
That's
I don't know
true.
what that means.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. I'm leaning into the girliness of pink. I love it.
Yeah. No, pink is a great color.
It is.
I don't mind
Speaking
pink.
of,
I've made
pink water
pink
bottle.
water bottle. You know how like you might not know, but on surfaces you can do like an accent color. So my work computers are Surface and I've made everything pink. So it's like it starts up, it's a huge pink screen. The toolbar's a big pink screen. It's the little things.
When I make like Excels for various things at work, I'm definitely not an accountant, but I have to like use Excels for various data collection bull crap that I have to do, or like PowerPoints or something that I have to like put together, or whatever, Google Slides. I do them as girly as possible because I used to do them in like grays and blacks and like muted colors or like whatever. And I'm like, wait, I'm the one looking at this every day, not anybody else.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do it up. I'm leaning into
Have fun
it.
with it.
Why not?
Well, that's us, everyone. We like to have fun with the little things, including this podcast, which is Two Girls, One Crossword, your favorite weekly Podword crosscast. I'm Grace Topinka.
I'm Chelsea Rowan. We love favorite colors. We love
color coding professional Excels to be ridiculous.
Yes.
Me too. I do that too. And I have a lot of Excels, but I make them like rainbow and stuff. You gotta make it fun for yourself.
You gotta make. Whoever said that corporate life or like work had to be boring is in itself boring. Like if I gotta sit at my desk for 9 hours a day, I'm gonna try and enjoy it as much as I can. That's why I made a
You sit
at
your desk for 9 hours a day?
I don't move. I haven't moved from this spot since 9 o'clock this morning.
She works from sun up till sundown.
It's
Never
true.
takes a moment off.
It's true. I never take a break. I don't even drink a drop of water. Not on this clock.
Mm-mm.
Anyway, welcome to the podcast. Yeah. Just so you know, I work very diligently.
Speaking of having fun with things, we got a message from a listener on Instagram, Emma,
yes.
about our last week's episode, which we did about the days of the week. Remember, we had the same topic. By the way, we assured we did not have the same topic this week through a third party. So,
what do you think if Matt was lying to us at the third party?
Well, you said your topic isn't one that I would do, and this one is definitely one that I would do. So I'm not worried about it.
I tried really hard to pick something that I didn't think you would do.
I didn't. We both could have done this topic, but I just didn't care. Threw caution to the wind. It was calling to me. But Emma did message us about our days of the week and was like, I'm surprised you didn't mention Monday's Child, which is a nursery rhyme, which I had never heard before, but
Neither had
I'm not
I.
sure where she's from. It could be like a regional thing, like more popular in some other places. But basically, it's just a days of the week rhyme talking about the attributes that a person born on a certain day of the week might have.
Mm-hmm.
So this is it. And I don't know the tune, so I'm not going to sing. I'm just going to say it. Monday's child is fair of face. Tuesday's child, me, is full of grace. Imagine that.
Can you believe?
Wednesday's child is full of woe, which I wonder if that's where Wednesday comes from Adam's family.
I know, that's
it'd
immediately
be really
what I thought of.
embarrassing if that was true and I mentioned it in my Adam's family episode, and now I've just completely forgotten.
I've also completely forgotten, so shame on us.
We can't remember everything, people. Okay.
Mm-mm.
Thursday's child has far to go. Friday's child is loving and giving. Saturday's child works hard for a living. And the child born on the Sabbath day is bonny and blithe, good and gay. That's you.
Which is
Your
me.
Sunday baby.
I'm bonny and blithe, good and gay. I've always said that, actually. I was not surprised when I read that because I was like, I literally have said that since the day I was born.
You have. You say that all the time. I kind of feel bad for Wednesday and Thursday and Saturday. Full of woe, has far to go, works hard for a living. Couldn't be me.
Apparently, Hannah is Saturday. And she is like, I don't like having that expectation on my shoulders. And I was like, bet. And then I think Matt is Thursday, so he has far to go. So I interpreted that as, well, Matt's also an Aries. So I feel like they're always on the go. So I interpreted it more as like, they've got something to do. They've always got to go somewhere. They always got a place to be. They're busy. They're like, they're moving.
They never keep idle hands.
Yes.
Idle hands are the devil's playthings.
It's true. And Michael is the one with like being kind. Whatever that one is.
Friday, loving and giving.
That one.
Okay. Wow, we really got almost everyone. Alex is Monday.
Which
we
one's
need a
Monday?
Wednesday. Monday's fair face.
True.
Yeah.
She's got a good face on her.
It's very fair. We need a Wednesday. So if you're born on a Wednesday, let us know.
I wonder if Lauren is. We'll have to ask.
Thanks for sending that to us, Emma.
That was
enjoyed it.
Truly so much fun. And I'm just, as soon as I saw what Tuesday was, I was like, wow, this is going to give Grace like a big ego boost. But I'm like here for it.
Yeah. Who would have thunk?
Who would have thought it? Anyway, we have lots of fun here. Listen to last week's episode if you're curious why this is important. Okay. Yeah.
Well, I guess this is a perfect time to go to our Poll-a-palooza this week, which was about last week's episode. So I had to break it up into two different sections because like you can't compare the weekday and the weekend. So
you cannot.
We asked, what's your least favorite day of the week? This is only included Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday because, Friday through Sunday, it's not really fair. In first place, unsurprisingly, with 50% of the votes was Monday.
Okay.
In second place, with 36% of the vote, was Tuesday, which I believe we talked about why Tuesday is the worst day. And then Wednesday, with 14% of the votes, was in third place. And then no one voted for Thursday, which I feel like is fair. Who doesn't like Thursday?
I feel like
more than Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
So let me work through this a little bit. Thursdays for me are my busiest day.
Same, me too.
Because
at work
of this podcast.
And then the podcast.
Exactly. Mostly because I have a full day of work, and that can vary in terms of how busy it is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I always have the podcast. So I need to make sure that I've done my research. I need to make sure that I've, crossed words throughout the week. I have things to talk about here. I just need to be generally prepared, plus work on top of that, plus like household, plus dog stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not my least favorite day because I do enjoy this podcast. So why, even though it's busy, why would I hate it? Wednesday I wouldn't vote for because I feel like it's like if you're running a marathon and you have to like go over a hill, a Wednesday is like standing on top of a hill. You can see the finish line. Yeah. Once you start going down, you're like racing, you're speeding. So I feel like Wednesday is pretty good. Mondays are difficult because I do hate a Monday, but I feel like Tuesdays are so stagnant, At least there's some momentum to my dread on Monday, whereas my dread on a Tuesday is like much more, I can't do anything about it.
Monday Eve is okay because you have Sunday. It's like Tuesday is bookmarked by 2 weekdays.
Mm-hmm.
You get no reprieve.
Yep, it's true.
Well, then I asked, speaking of Sunday, Saturday has everything going for it. It wouldn't be fair to be in the running.
Mm-hmm.
So which weekend bookmark is your favorite, Friday or Sunday? Another way to ask this question is, are you able to enjoy the present, or is the impending Monday enough to ruin your Sunday? And our Twitter followers do not enjoy the present. 86% voted that Friday is better than Sunday. Only 14% of people voted for Sunday. And I feel like I'm happier on Friday. Like Friday's like, oh, it's Friday.
No,
'Cause
I
you have so
know.
much ahead of you. But then Sunday is
know.
like, oh, it's Sunday more.
No,
But
I totally
why?
agree. I think it's because you know what tomorrow's going to be and it's back to
Yeah.
work and nobody wants to think about back to work. Friday is so exciting because like there's nothing stopping you from doing literally anything. Like you could go out and drink, you could get high, you could whatever, do anything that you want.
Mm-hmm.
And you could sleep in the next day and no worries. Whereas like if you did any of that on a Sunday, your Monday is not going to be fun.
But Sunday during the day, I feel like it stops people from enjoying their Sunday, like the Sunday scaries or whatever. Prevents people from enjoying their Sunday to the fullest because it is an entire free day.
It
So
is.
you shouldn't let Monday ruin it for you.
It's true. You heard it here first. Try to live in the present, okay?
That's what this podcast is all about.
We've been trying to get to this exact point for 119 episodes, and we've just wanted to make this point clear. Live in the present.
And now we're here.
So I guess that means we should also live in the present and presently do our hits and shits.
Nice. Yes,
Thank you. I don't know if it necessarily makes sense, but it definitely transitioned us, so that's all that matters.
If it gets the job done, that's all we need. Doesn't need to make sense. Our segues rarely do.
Like, here's the thing with segues. At a point, the point of them is just to move from one topic to the next.
Mm-hmm.
And in and of itself, that makes it make sense. You know?
Yeah.
Anyway, like I said,
it's a segue.
Here we are. I guess I'll start.
Okay.
I'll start with the Friday, February 25th New Yorker by Eric Agard. I love Eric's puzzles. Always fun to see them. I really liked this one because I wasn't expecting this answer. So when you're not expecting an answer, it makes you feel good inside when you fill it in. You're like, wow, you're so funny. And I'm like, Eric, you're so funny. Anyway, 13 across. Goes to a different barber, perhaps. And the answer was cheats.
That's good.
Right? It just makes you feel good. So thanks for that, Eric. 58 across. Quantity of pants for a frigid day, possibly. And the answer was 2 pairs.
Yeah,
Fun.
sometimes you need it.
15 down. Construction specs, ?
Blue. Oh, goggles?
Safety goggles, yes. Construction specs, ? Yep. And then 27 down, some sneaks.
Some steaks?
Sorry, sneaks. Sneaks.
I don't know.
Nikes.
Fun.
That tripped me up because like now that when I say some sneaks, like it's clearly sneakers in my head. But at the time I was like sneaks, like
Spies.
liars, spy. I could not think of anything. And then I filled it in and I was like, God, he got me.
That's exactly what he wanted.
That's what he wanted and he got it. Are you happy now? I complimented you. I called you funny. And now what? That's all I got for that one.
Well, I have 2 clues from different USA Today puzzles that made me laugh. So the March 2nd puzzle, second part by Zaushim Bernico, edited by Eric. 52 down, Fergus, Farkle, or Felicia, e.g.
F names?
No, Ogre, because those are the names of Shrek and Fiona's triplets.
I forgot. That is amazing.
I had to look it up. I was like, wait, what is this?
Wow. Amazing.
First I was like, is that from an old, ogre tale? I was like, nope, it's from Shrek.
And also, we've talked about this before, but the ogre PR has always been bad, especially in the New York Times. But it's seeming like the USA Today listens to us. Like, not all ogres are bad. Okay?
Yeah.
Shrek and Fiona, case in point.
What was Shrek for? If we're still cluing ogres as being like monsters.
Baddies. Yeah. Fairy tale baddies. I guess fairy tale baddies, it's like, are they like yassified now? Anyway.
I buy it.
Move on.
But then and this other one from the March 3rd USA Today, All of It by Ada Nicole, edited by Eric again. 36 across, home to the busiest transit station in Minnesota. Mall of America.
Oh.
which is
Okay.
relevant to the mall topic that we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I remember watching a TLC show about mall cops that worked in Mall of America. And yeah, there's like a huge train station there.
Oh, I mean, I guess I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
They've like literally everything else there. Why wouldn't they have like a train or a metro stop or something?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is that all you got from USA Today?
Yes.
I liked the Saturday, February 26th New York Times by Ori Bryan.
Mm-hmm.
17 across, sunspot, question mark. The answer was outer space. Because the sun is in, oh my God, I was like, that's good. 35 across, end of a waiting list, question mark. The answer was dessert menu, like waiting tables.
Smart.
I love ordering dessert at restaurants. Do you like that too? I feel like there's some people that literally never order dessert, but I'm like always, I'm saving room for dessert type at a restaurant.
I don't always. I don't feel like I don't go out to eat anymore, really.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's true. When I order like off Postmates or something, I don't ever order dessert. But if I'm at like a sit down restaurant, I will always go for like some dessert and coffee to like end the meal. But I also like feel like when I go out to restaurants, I plan to be there for like many hours and like do the whole drinks, apps, entree, dessert. And I have ordered a second entree once because I have no control over myself. And
you would love going on a cruise, you know. They say only order one dessert, but you can order like all three if you want, and they don't stop you. It's all you can eat. So
thank you. Maybe I
and
should
you can
go
order
on a cruise.
2 entrees. I feel like cruise is not really my thing, but I do feel like we would have fun on a cruise.
I know. It's the same with like Las Vegas. Like,
yeah,
get us somewhere so gaudy and tacky with a bunch of people that are not anticipating us. We'll have the time of our life. Time of our life. Okay, last one from that New York Times Saturday I liked was 11 down, person you're in with. And the answer was cellmate. Like in jail with.
Yeah.
She's like, I got it.
I got it. I liked a lot from the Thursday New York Times, March 3rd by August Lee Kovac.
Oh, I haven't done this one, but yeah, tell me about it.
Okay, sorry, I'm going to ruin it for you.
It's okay.
5 down, wearing just a smile, say. Nude. And then I didn't know this, 35 down, 1847 novel originally subtitled an autobiography. Jane Eyre.
Really?
It's not an autobiography, which is...
It's not, yeah.
But maybe she wanted to make it seem like it was. Who knows what they're doing back then? I don't remember that coming up in my Bronte research episode. 31 down, punchy ending, question mark.
KO?
Aid, like lemonade.
Nice.
47 down, top story.
Headliner?
Attic.
Nice.
And then 46 across, it's famous for doing the floss. This one tripped me up for a while. Oral B.
Those are some really good clues for answers that you might see in a puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
Semi-regularly. I mean, like, I've seen Oral B before. Attic comes up a lot because it has the A, the TT, and the I. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, the letters are good. Jane Eyre comes up in puzzles all the time. What was the other one that you had from this
Aid.
one? Nude. And Aid.
Nude,
yeah, like
Oral B. I feel like they've all...
But those are really good clues. I think sometimes that's really what makes a puzzle stand out for me is not so much... I mean, obviously there's like a science and like a logic behind how you construct a puzzle, and there are certain people that solve crosswords that really enjoy the actual physical construction of it. But I think sometimes what you and I are drawn towards are the witty cluing and like the wordplay in the clues. It doesn't matter necessarily what the answer is. It's kind of like how you got us to the answer is what I find enjoyable.
Agreed.
She agrees. What more can I ask for?
Nothing. That's all I can give you.
That's it. Did you do the Monday, February 28th New Yorker by Naitonal last?
I didn't do that one. I did the Wednesday one.
Okay. Well, I learned something from the Naitonal last puzzle. 9 down. Word derived from the Hindi for to massage. The answer was shampoo. I was like, oh, okay. I love that. And then this one tripped me up, but then of course I filled it in and I was like, oh, duh, you idiot. But I just liked it. A 12 across video game series that begins in Pallet Town.
Pokemon?
Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
That's all you got.
Did you play Pokemon on like Game Boy Color?
I did. I think I had the blue one.
Oh, I had the red one.
Well, guess you can't be
What
friends
was your
anymore.
first Pokemon? Did you pick? Who'd you pick?
Charizard.
Oh, I picked Squirtle.
You would. I feel like that fits
I
our
would.
personality, though. What was the third one? It was...
Was it Pikachu? No, you couldn't pick Pikachu yet.
No, I wish.
It was Bulbasaur.
Right. He was cute, too.
He was, I mean, I feel like as an adult, I probably would go Charizard or Bulbasaur.
Sorry, is he Charmander at first? I don't want the Pokemon stands to come after me.
Oh, please don't come after us. It's been literally decades since I've interacted with Pokemon.
So I think it was Charmander, and then Charizard.
And then there's a third one.
I'm not even going to say.
Don't come for us, please. Don't come for us. Yeah, what else you got?
So The March 2nd New Yorker by Patrick Barry.
Mm-hmm.
There were a bunch of clues that I liked in here. One down, sparsely populated rural area with the...
Mm-hmm.
It was boonies.
Mm-hmm.
I love to say the boonies. 9 down, blank panic, moral frenzy of the 80s. Satanic panic.
Yes. Can I just flag here that there's a great You're Wrong About episode about the Satanic Panic? If you lived through the Satanic Panic, or you know about it peripherally, listen to that episode, because it turns it on its head, and also I'm just like, wow, people are bonkers. Anyway, really interesting.
I will listen to that. I'm interested, obviously. Not obviously, but I am interested in the Satanic Panic.
Now it's obvious because you told everybody.
Yes.
So it's obvious. Yeah, anyway.
36 across, western neighbor of the Yukon, which was Alaska, but I liked it because it was attached with 12 across, lower 48 plus 36 across, which was Alaska, for short.
Mm-hmm.
Continental U.S. I just like the saying, lower 48.
Yes. I also liked continental U.S. in the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a longer answer, and sometimes when I'm able to get a longer answer, like right off the bat without any like acrosses filled in or like downs filled in, I feel like a literal fucking genius.
Yeah, agreed.
I read that, I was like, continental U.S., I'm a genius. I'm a genius. Try and stop me, I dare you.
I wouldn't. Which one is this one? 26 down, person you're out all night with, question mark. Bunkmate. It kind of reminds me of the cellmate one.
Mm-hmm.
And then 33 down, race through gates, slalom.
Mm-hmm. 32 down, what's up in the Sierra Madre, question mark. And it's Que Pasa. Like,
Yeah.
That was fun. And I also liked 14 across, Colgate palm olive, produced one made completely of recyclable plastic in 2019. The answer was toothpaste tube. The clue was a bit of a mouthful, but I just liked toothpaste tube.
Yeah, it's almost all the way across.
Nice. It's nice.
This puzzle had a lot of long answers, which are always fun. If you can get them.
If you could get them. I liked the Wednesday, March 2nd New York Times by Dylan Schiff. I like the theme. It's like a pretty simple theme, but sometimes I really buy into them.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, the clues were asking for 3 geographical places, and they tell you how many letters are in each of the places. But instead of the answers being one place after the other and after the other, like the answers kind of overlapped each other. So I'll give you an example. 21 across, 3 world capitals, 5, 4, and 10. Filled all the way in, it reads clearly Cairo, Mexico City. So Cairo is 5, Mexico City is 10. I was like, where's the 4? Well, Rome is what connects Cairo and Mexico City, Rome. So it's got all 3 of those in the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Another example. 3 U.S. states, 4, 4, and 10. I read it initially as Ohio, Washington, but Iowa connects Ohio and Washington. And then the last was 3 countries, 6, 4, and 9. And it reads Panama, Lithuania, but Mali connects Panama and Lithuania. So that was fun.
I like that.
At first, I was like, I don't know what this theme is, and I had to really use my brain here to figure out what the hell is going on.
Same. I liked that one
fun.
as well. I also like the opening clue for that one. 1 across, the girl next door for 1. And the answer was
That's good.
trope.
The trope. It's good. Got anything else?
That's it.
That's it. Shall we flip a coin?
Flip it, baby.
All right. And like we said before, we do not have the same topic.
The pressure's
so don't
off.
get your hopes up. Do not get your hopes up. Okay, I'm flipping the coin now. It's heads, which means it's me.
Well, let's be nice.
Last week I went first, but then we had the same topic. It was a whole thing. All right, let's see what I can do here. Okay, so my topic comes from the Monday, February 28th, New Yorker by Naitonal Last, 7 down, London's old blank. And the answer is Vic, V-I-C, London's old Vic. Do you know what the old Vic is?
A movie theater? Or a theater?
It's a theater, yes.
It is?
It is.
Wow.
It's a theater. What? She's a genius. So I was just telling Grace that I haven't read through my notes. There's a lot here. I'm going to try and edit on the fly. Don't get your hopes up. I really feel like I'm going to do well tonight, but we'll see.
That's good to put it out there. I feel like it takes the pressure off to perform.
Takes the pressure off. It does.
Everyone knows. Everyone's in on it.
So let's get into it. We're talking about the Old Vic today. The Old Vic is a not-for-profit producing theater in London. It was established in 1818. And it is one of the many leading performing arts centers in London. It's one of the oldest and most famous. And it's notably where the Royal National Theatre was founded in 1963 under the direction of Laurence Olivier, who's obviously a famous British actor.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk a little bit about the Royal National Theatre in a bit, but first, they're going to go through a general history of the Old Vic. Like I said, the theatre was founded in 1818 by a guy named James King, Daniel Dunn, and a guy named John Thomas Serres, who was actually a marine painter for the king at the time. And by marine painter, I mean a guy who paints marine depictions of military things for the king. That was his job. And he also helped these other two guys found this theater. So because Serres was in with the king, he kind of knew some other royal adjacent people. And he managed to secure formal patronage for the founding of this theater from Princess Charlotte and her husband, Prince Leopold of Saxe-Coburg. And they named the theater the Royal Coburg Theater. If Coburg sounds familiar to you, it's because that's the family that Queen Victoria eventually marries into when she marries King Albert. We talked about this on episode 1.
If you could remember.
It's a wild episode a long, long time ago. If you're interested in the royal family, baby situation, check it out. Anyway, so this part is important for stuff that comes later. So let's talk about it now. So at the time, the Royal Coburg Theatre was considered a minor theatre, as opposed to a patent theater. And because it was a minor theater, it was technically forbidden to show, quote, serious drama. And serious drama in this regard is usually mainly means Shakespeare. Mm-hmm. They weren't allowed to show Shakespeare. So what the hell is a minor theater and a patent theater? Well, here's a history lesson. Between 1649 and 1660, England, Wales, Ireland, Scotland didn't have a king, okay? They were governed as a republic as the result of the Second English Civil War and the execution of the previous king, Charles I. During this short period of time, the United Kingdom was called the Commonwealth, and it was run by a guy named Oliver Cromwell. You may know him. He was the guy that was horrible to the Irish people. He did lots of bad things, was a big military conquest type guy. Mm-hmm. Very general English history for you. Also during this time, during the Commonwealth, the Puritans had a lot of power, and therefore were able to ban a lot of public entertainment, specifically things like theater and things like that. Nevertheless, the Commonwealth eventually fell. They reinstated a king. It was now King Charles III, the son of the guy who was beheaded. And in 1660, Charles II, sorry, it was Charles II that was instated, whatever. Charles II did away with the ban on theater performances, but there's a caveat, this very small caveat. The only people that could put on theater performances had to have a special patent from the king in order to do so. And he only awarded 2 patents to 2 theater groups. Okay. And they were issued to a guy named Thomas Killigrew and William Davenport. And it essentially granted them monopoly of serious theater, meaning Shakespeare. And other theaters were prohibited from performing, quote, serious plays, and they were only allowed to perform comedies, farces, melodramas, but nothing like Shakespeare.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Interesting fact. These 2 theaters eventually grew into what was able to form the West End in London. So what's his name? Thomas Killigrew founded his theater troupe in a very specific building. It burned down, it got demolished a couple times, but on that same plot of land stands the Theatre Royal on Drury Lane. Mm-hmm. And so that is like one of the oldest theaters in London, founded by this guy, thanks to King Charles II in the 1600s saying, yeah, you can perform Shakespeare. And because of where his theater was located, other theaters popped up and eventually kind of evolved into what is now the West End.
Look at that.
Interesting theater facts for you. Anyway, back to business. The Old Vic, established in 1818, is called the Royal Coburg Theatre. So even though Charlotte and her husband were patrons and like basically gave money to make this theater like a thing, Charlotte died in 1817 and was never able to see the theater. And then Prince Leopold only visited the theater twice because he had to leave England in 1831 to become the first the first king of the Belgians. And he was later the uncle of the guy who marries Queen Victoria. But that's for another day. So then fast forward to 1833. Daniel Edgerton and William Abbott took over the lease of the theater. They needed a new patron because their prince had moved away. And so they were able to secure the patronage of a widow named Duchess of Kent, Princess Victoria of Saxe-Coburg and Saalfeld, who was also mother of the soon-to-be Queen Victoria. Thanks to her patronage, they renamed the theater the Royal Victoria Theatre. Apparently, there was some confusion as to which Victoria the theater was named after. It's technically named after Queen Victoria's mother, but nobody really liked Queen Victoria's mother, and Queen Victoria eventually became the queen, so people just thought it was named after the queen, so it kind of just stuck, which I thought was interesting. And interestingly enough, Queen Victoria did visit the theater. She only visited it once when she was 14 years old, and I think it was still called the Royal Coburg Theatre at that point. She saw a play there about Gustavus III, which is essentially about the assassination of the King of Sweden. And this is what she wrote in her diary, quote, "It was a very clean and pretty little theater," end quote. Okay.
A woman of many words.
Many, many words. So the name the Royal Victoria Theatre stuck until 1871 when the lease changed hands again, this time to a guy named Romain de la Torre. He renovated the theater, renamed it the Royal Victoria Palace. It was also in 1871 that the phrase "the Old Vic" appeared for the first time. It was in an article in the Daily News 2 days after it opened after its renovations. Quote, "Redecorated, refurbished, rearranged, and as far as the interior is concerned, almost rebuilt. The Old Vic once more takes place among London theaters," end quote. So that's kind of where the name originated from. 1880. The official name changes again because the lease changes again. They could not keep this theater in the hands of one person. This time, the management went to a woman named Emma Cons, and it was called the Royal Victoria Hall and Coffee Tavern. Catchy. So Cons, yeah, exactly. So the reason it was changed to Coffee Tavern is interesting. Cons was a British social reformer and a women's suffragist. She was important in like that kind of movement at the time. She campaigned for educational opportunities for the working class. She was also the first female alderman on the London County Council. But she ran the Old Vic as a quote strict temperance line. So if you're not sure what temperance is, temperance essentially means like no alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
So previously, the only reason that the Old Vic was able to stay up and running wasn't because of ticket sales. It was because of alcohol sales.
Mm-hmm.
When Emma Cons took it over, she was like real strict on temperance, like no alcohol. Like she was all for prohibition, that kind of thing. And so when she reopened it, they did not serve alcohol. They served coffee. And this is an interesting fact too. So I mentioned earlier that you had to have a special patent to be able to perform Shakespeare in 1600s. The same held true at this time. Okay. So Emma Cons like put on some Shakespeare secretly, like Shakespeare scenes. She never put on full Shakespeare plays.
Like underground Shakespeare?
Yes. And lots of theaters did this at the time, like, and you could get away with it because it's not something that they totally enforce. They would enforce it, they would tax you, fine you, that kind of thing. It wasn't a super serious crime at this time, but a lot of theaters also didn't do it. But anyway, because she put on these kind of Shakespeare scenes, it was aligned with her desire to like foster education for the working class and to make the arts more accessible for people who potentially didn't get to have an education or get to interact with this kinds of stuff. Because Shakespeare at the time is considered very elevated. Like you'd go to Cambridge, you'd go to Eton, you'd go to whatever, Oxford, and you'd read all these things. You'd read all the classics. If you're working in the sawmill or whatever, you're not reading Shakespeare necessarily. So she was kind of trying to like bridge that gap. Anyway, so let's see. She did pass away in 1912. The theater passed on to her niece, Lillian Bayliss. Bayliss also, in 1912 is when Bayliss got a patent to put on Shakespeare at the theater. She decided to put on the entire first folio of Shakespeare plays, something that no other theater in the world had ever done before. And she did this between 1914 and 1923. So the first folio is the first time Shakespeare's plays were printed in one volume. It includes 36 of his plays. I think there's 39 total. It almost includes all of them. And she put every single one on, which no other theater had ever done before. And by 1918, the Old Vic was established as the only permanent Shakespeare theater in London. And by 1923, all of his plays had been performed there. Bayliss also introduced early cinema to the Old Vic, along with opera and symphony. She was also one of the first theaters to have the BBC come and like do like audio recordings of like plays and music, which is kind of cool. And then we're going to fast forward a little bit to World War II. Sadly, like had to close because it was bombed during the air raids. And then because of the air raids, it was like severely damaged and it was closed for like 10 years until like 1950. And so that's the Old Vic, but it leads me to a different topic.
Okay.
I mentioned earlier that the Royal National Theatre was founded at the Old Vic. I got a lot of my information about this part, like the Royal National Theatre, from a article. I don't know if this is an article necessarily or just something written, like an essay. It was written in 1977. It's called The Winding Road to King's Reach by Richard Findlater. And then this one is an article. This is from The Atlantic, of course. The State of the National by Helen Lewis. So that's where I got my information from for this section. Do you know what the Royal National Theatre is? That's my first question. Okay.
No, I don't.
Most Brits probably know what it is because it's like a national subsidized like theater thing. And a lot of like theater lovers and art lovers are probably aware of it in some way or another. It's more commonly known as the National Theater, but in case you're not aware, that's what I'm here for. Firstly, what is a national theater? A national theater is essentially like subsidized by the government, and lots of nations have subsidized art councils, subsidized art endeavors. We might have some of that stuff in the US, but as far as my understanding, we don't really have like a national theater or whatever. Anyway, in the UK, it's a partly subsidized group of British theater companies. The government basically helps fund their artistic endeavors. The National Theatre gives face to theatre in Britain. It brings stature to British theatre at large. It's supposed to be representative of all of British theatre. But where did it all begin? We've already discussed minor theatres and patent theatres. Even though the patent theatre system was struck down in 1843, new plays after this fact were subject to censorship by the Lord Chamberlain's office. The arts community considered the theatre system to be weak. They really wanted to create something more serious. The patent system didn't really foster lots of, quote, serious theatre growth, as theatre outside of patent theatre. So if you didn't have a patent to perform Shakespeare, most of what you were putting on was like burlesque, vaudeville, melodrama, comedy, and highbrow theater goers did not consider that serious enough. They thought it was just a money grab. They thought it was lowering standards. It wasn't good enough. And so, of course, the artistic community is like, we really need to elevate theater in the UK because right now it's a joke. So some of the earliest demands for a more serious national theatre system came in the form of pamphlets from a London publisher named Effingham William Wilson in 1848. He promoted, so at this time, England bought the house where Shakespeare was born in. And so Effingham was like, yo, I'm going to publish this thing called A House for Shakespeare. Essentially, like, we need to, if we're going to like start purchasing like Shakespeare's, historic locations, why can't we immortalize Shakespeare, the most important writer of England, by establishing a national theater? Like, that's what his whole thing was. Like, if we establish a national theater, Shakespeare can be performed constantly, because people at the time were obsessed with Shakespeare.
Yeah, but was he like the only playwright in England?
It's the only one that they cared about, at least in the 1848 or whatever. Fast forward to 1904, you have a playwright, Haley Granville Barker, and a translator, William Archer. They wrote, quote, scheme and estimates for a national theater. And essentially this was a plan for how to fund and budget a national theater. And it included a permanent company of actors, 42 men and 24 women, that would, quote, break away completely and unequivocally from the ideals of the profit-making stage. So they were saying, like, no more of this, like, crappy melodrama, comedy, farcical, vaudeville shit. We need serious theater. Okay.
I feel like I personally would enjoy the vaudeville. That's just me.
I agree. So these calls for a national theater were essentially renewed literally every single decade, but never actualized. But why was a national theater so important to playwrights, actors, critics, art lovers? Well, they wanted to show the world a form of, quote, exemplary theater, something to form a permanent memorial to Shakespeare, something that would represent the best of British acting, and to foster new talents in the form of a theater school. This is a quote from that scheme and estimates thing.
All right, can I just say I love how in London, instead of like a health plan, it's like a health scheme. That's we see it at work sometimes, and I'm just like, it makes it sound like it's trying to be sneaky about something.
No, I know it does. It's very like, it feels like underhanded. And you're like, wait, what's sneaky about this? Okay, so this is a quote from that scheme. Quote, the National Theatre must be its own advertisement, must impose itself on public notice, not by posters or column advertisements in the newspapers, but by the very fact of its ample, dignified, and liberal existence. It must bulk large in the social and intellectual life of London. It must never have the air of appealing to a specially literate and cultured class. It must be visibly and unmistakably a popular institution, making a large appeal to the whole community. It must be seen that the theater we propose would be a national theater in the sense that it would be from the first conditionally, and in the event of success would become absolutely the property of the nation.
Okay.
Which I'm like, for 1904, okay. A lot more inclusive sounding than I feel like this concept of like highbrow Shakespearean like art, I guess. contextually, a lot of like the people in like the theater community in Britain at the time were kind of pissy because France has had a national theater since 1680. Denmark, Sweden, Austria have had theirs for some 200 years. They were like, what the F is England doing? Why don't we also have a national theater? We can't compete with these other people. The main issue, as always, is money. While the national theater movement had a lot of supporters and a lot of prolific, prominent supporters, they didn't have a lot of money. No one wanted to allot them a budget. Anytime it looked like something might actually happen, a world event came by and ruined the chances. For instance, World War I, and then again World War II. But by the end of World War II, a national theater became more practical in a political sense. This is why. State aid for the arts was introduced by the establishment of the Council of the Arts, the Council for the Encouragement of Music and Arts in 1940. So the English government established that. And so because they had this council now, there was more of like a political backing for spending money on a, quote, national theater. Mm-hmm. Next, the London County Council approached the Shakespeare Memorial Theatre Committee with a possible gift for a theater location. So you have essentially these aldermen that go to the Shakespeare Committee. They're like, hey, like we may or may not have a gift of a location for you to start a national theater. And then the Old Vic, which we talked about the Old Vic already, also approached the Shakespeare Memorial National Theatre Committee with aims of creating a national theater with them. So the government has like an arts council finally that they're going to give some money to spend on the arts and encouragement of the arts in England. Then you have the aldermen of London basically being like, we are going to allot some space to create a national theater. And then the Old Vic goes to the Shakespeare Committee and is like, hey, we want to collaborate and make a national theater with you. So you've got money potentially coming from the government, you've got a location, and you've got an established theater ready to like hop on with these like enthusiastic theater people to make a national theater. It all seems like it's coming together, but it kind of never actually ended up happening. Even though the government offered funding, they actually even started building a location. Everything just stalled. Everything just stalled out. And eventually the government, it's complicated, and I couldn't put it all in here because it literally would have been a very long topic, even though it already is a long topic. There's a lot of pawns at play, and people were like, we'll give you money if you do this thing, but they didn't do this thing. And so they were like, we're not going to give you this money anymore. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of like this tug of war game for 20 years. From like 1940 to 1960. And eventually in like 1960, the government was like, that's it, we're taking our money away. We're not doing this. So the Shakespeare Memorial National Theatre Committee in 1960 decided, after the government funding was taken away, that they would establish a national theater company without waiting for a building to be opened or built, and without the money from the government. And then another body, the National Theatre Board, was established to run this company. They were like, we're just going to do it, with or without you. And then the trustees of the Old Vic heard about it and were like, hey, we'll give you guys a lease to use our playhouse. And they're like, okay. And then by 1962, the first artistic director of the National Theatre Company was named as Laurence Olivier. So Laurence Olivier was an established theatre actor at the time, and he became the first artistic director of the National Theatre of London. They did it at the Old Vic. I believe after a couple years, they like went completely bankrupt. But by that point, the government was like, fine, we'll give you a bailout, and they bailed them out. It's all very funny. Anyway, so the very first performance of the National Theatre Company was Hamlet. It was at the Old Vic. It was on October 22nd, 1963, and it starred Peter O'Toole. Who else? And then there was like some years where they stayed at the Old Vic. They put on some plays there. Some memorable productions were a bunch of Shakespeare's plays, but also other classics, including Cyrano de Bergerac, Oedipus Rex, Love for Love, etc. And they established themselves. They really established themselves. The government was finally on board, subsidizing them. But it took another 13 years for the National Theatre to actually acquire their own building. And its current home, which now has 3 spaces. There is a 1,150-seat Olivier Theatre. There is an 890-seat Littleton Theatre and a 450-seat Dorfman Theatre. They're able to stage 25 shows a year at this space. There are over 1,000 performances every year. They have a company of at least 150 actors at any given time. They perform to over 600,000 people. And many more people can view National Theatre productions on West End. So the National Theatre doesn't just put on performances at their theaters. They have like a ton of like spillover performances as well that you can see on the West End, which is really cool. And then a ton of their theaters performances go on tour, or you can see them online on their like streaming service. Kind of cool. But I would be remiss if I did not bring up some controversies from the National Theatre. And it's not like concrete controversies necessarily, but I just wanted to flag these things that I read that I thought were interesting for just to churn around in your brain. Even though it's a national theater, it means its success is connected to the country or the country's government, right? And so depending on what the government or the country's feelings are towards artistic endeavors at any given time may or may not affect funding, for instance, or programming, that kind of stuff. As of 2010, the National Theatre's state grant was cut by 30%, and further reductions are expected under the Conservative Party currently in power. So a lot of this information I'm about to go through is from that State of the National article from The Atlantic, where they talk about, it's a really interesting article. I'll make sure to put it in the episode description. It's essentially a profile on current politics in Britain and how the current politics in Britain are reflected in the National Theatre and how the National Theatre is both positively and negatively affected by that. And I'm just going to flag some interesting thought points from that article because I can't really get into it. I'm also not British, so I can't really talk on British politics with like an educated, I don't know. I'm not really educated on it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So like I said, as of 2010, 30% of their grant was slashed by the government. Further reductions of their grant are expected now that there is a conservative government, it's run by what's his name? Boris something or other, Johnson. Anyway, so the question is raised of how relevant the National Theatre really is. First, we're going to look at Brexit. Here's a quote from the article. How can British theatre, an industry filled with people who voted to remain in the European Union, make art that speaks to and represents the 52% of people who voted to leave? Because remember, the quote I read earlier from that scheme document, the whole concept of the National Theatre is to be a theatre of the people. It's a theatre of the nation. It's supposed to be representative of the nation at any given time. If 52% of the people are voting to leave the European Union, but the industry of the arts is filled with people who want to remain, is the National Theatre actually representative of a majority of the English population? These are just questions. I don't have the answer.
Okay.
It's just interesting. It's just interesting to think about.
Food for thought.
Food for thought. Also, what about the National Theatre's priorities? What kind of theater should it be putting on? Should it be putting on big hits? Should it be putting on moneymakers? What about important work, important in quotes? Artistic work. Are minority and women artists getting enough opportunities? Is the audience too white, too old, and too rich? These are all questions that are asked about the National Theatre. Again, I don't have the answers, but these are criticisms that the National Theatre gets. It's like, are you guys relevant in this day and age? And then it all boils down to this question. Is the National Theatre primarily an artistic project or a social one? According to the Arts Council proposed budget for 2020 to 2030, like they run their budgets in chunks of decades, they announced that the theater funding at large would be eligible and based on relevance rather than previous standard of excellence. So the Arts Council used to look at theaters and how, quote, excellent, like how they measured in excellence and would give them a budget. So the National Theatre was always putting on like really artistic, like boundary pushing pieces of art. And because of that, they were given good budgets. Now we're in a conservative government. They're not voting on excellence. They're voting on relevance. So what the hell does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
So being rated on excellence is, in a way, easier and safer because high-profile writers, top directors, celebrity actors, tried and tested classics equals people showing up, paying money, and sitting in the seats.
Mm-hmm.
It sells, right? Here's a quote. Yet excellence is also exclusive, a cozy cabal of established names that risks keeping out anyone who does not fit the white or male or middle class template for stardom. So that's kind of like what's boiled into excellence. I feel like sometimes people think of art as a very white medium. You know, like you got a lot of white people who really enjoy it, white people spending money, white people patronizing or, you know, donating tons of money to museums, art endeavors, etc. But because they're able to do that, then they're able to, quote, push the boundary, and they're supposed to be excellent and like really putting out incredible artistic works. Is it really excellent, or is it very niche for a very specific type of person?
Mm-hmm.
Again, questions. I have no answers. These are all raised in this amazing article. So then the theaters are not being rated on excellence anymore. They're being rated on relevance, which is a little riskier because, quote, it involves identifying new audiences and developing artists who speak to them, all of which might alienate the current audience. A theater as big as the National can survive only when it fills most of its seats, night after night. Its 3 auditoriums were 91% full over the past 3 years, but current artistic director Rufus Norris said he was unsure whether it would maintain that level. Increasing the diversity of the audience and the actors has been the main policy of his tenure, but it has been accomplished by raising prices, making the audience more rarefied. In the past 12 months, the cost of the top ticket in the largest auditorium has risen from £68 to £89, which is low by standards of profit-driven theaters on Broadway, but still multiple times the cost of a movie ticket or a night out in London. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I've already kind of said, let's go back to that quote from the Scheme and Estimates. The National Theater is supposed to represent the state of the nation. What lends itself better to that aim, rating on excellence or relevance? No idea. Another thing to note, since the first artistic director, Laurence Olivier, in 1963, the theater has only had 5 other artistic directors, all white, all male. With the exception of Olivier and the current director, Norris, all have attended a single elite British university, Cambridge. And here's a question for people who think we should abolish, or think that they should abolish arts funding in England. So essentially, the Conservatives, the right. Quote, why should hardworking taxpayers fund London liberals to get dressed up in tights and play Titania? But according to Helen Lewis on The Atlantic, quote, theater is the most urgent, the most topical of all performance media. It is faster and more reactive than film or television, allowing a city or a country to reflect on itself. Think of David Hare's 1993 trilogy about the decline of British institutions. Heitner's Iraq War inflected Henry V in 2003, or Richard Bean's 2014 play Great Britain about tabloid phone hacking. When plays like this succeed artistically, they become political landmarks, end quote. And I feel that's a quote like that is relatable to all art forms.
Mm-hmm.
Like, art may not be accessible to everybody, and it should be.
Mm-hmm.
But art really, it can be a political statement.
Yeah.
And it can be the voice of the masses. What we have to do is work hard to get the masses to be able to see the voice or hear the voice
mm-hmm.
when it's being performed. So, yeah, I mean, the article is just raising interesting questions, and it's a really interesting and unique look about the conflicts in Britain. If we're looking at it strictly from Brexit points of view, you have the people that voted to remain and you have the people that voted to leave. And if we're looking at should we fund the National Theater, should we not, it's essentially remains versus leaves, and
mm-hmm.
which one do you side with? And I think there are some valid criticisms of this highbrow elite artistic institution being inaccessible to people.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if you take away arts funding, where is the soul? Where is the meaning in life? Where is our ability to criticize the things that keep us down?
You raise good points there.
I do raise good points. I feel like I've been talking for a long time. So I have some interesting facts about the Old Vic and the National Theatre, but I will post them on Instagram because how long have I been talking for?
I don't know. We talked a lot in the beginning.
Okay, but still.
Don't think it's been too long.
Yeah, I mean, I'll share the article from The Atlantic in the episode description because there's so much in there that I couldn't really touch on. I wanted to give a very general history of the Old Vic. I wanted to talk about the National Theatre.
Mm-hmm.
And now I can just make sure our listeners head over to our social accounts so that they can get some interesting facts about the Old Vic and National Theatre.
This is just a ploy to get a scheme, if you will, to get you to go to our Instagram.
Yes, I'll write up the full scheme and put it on Instagram later. So head over. Anyway, yeah, so that's some just general info about those things.
All right, thank you. My topic comes from the March 1st USA Today puzzle, Motivational Tips by Mark Valdez and Brooke Husick, edited by Amanda Rafkin. 33 down, steamy soak.
A spa?
Hot bath.
A hot bath?
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing?
My topic is on hot tubs and bathhouses.
Oh, what? You always find like fun topics like this.
What can I say? I got my peepers peeled. So, everyone likes a good soak. If you've listened to the podcast for a while, you may have heard that Chelsea and I enjoy a good soak. We are hot tub fiends.
Yes.
And that's because it's human nature. Even, animal nature. There are many primates who find like natural hot springs, and it's extremely adorable. So,
it's very cute.
Our friends who don't like hot tubs, there's something officially wrong with you because it's literally in our DNA to want to get in a hot body of water and relax. But
sometimes I feel like, no shade to our friends, but I feel like there's like a self-consciousness about a hot tub. I don't know what it is. I feel like sometimes adults are like, I don't want to go swimming, or I'm not going to go in like a lake, or I'm not going to go in a pool. And I feel it's the same as like any kind of like big body of water where you have to be in a bathing suit with other adults.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you just got to take your first trip to King Spa and get nude with
strangers,
women of every single age from every single type of background. And then you'll be like, I could do a hot tub for the rest of my life every day.
Well, I also feel like maybe like a hot tub can be kind of intimate. You're sitting in like a tiny thing, but get over it, people. It's natural. All right.
Who cares about your anxieties?
Nothing compared to what it used to be, which we will go over. So
let's do it.
Before we had those portable hot tubs that we find at Airbnbs, there were natural hot springs, of course, and public bathhouses. So let's get into it. There's evidence that nomadic tribes during the Neolithic age would soak in natural hot springs. But one of the earliest recorded public bathhouses was built in 2500 BC in modern-day Pakistan, called the Great Bath. It was excavated in the early 1900s, and anthropologists believe that it may have been used as a temple since cleanliness and bathing could have been tied to religious beliefs and practices. But let's talk about like official. That's like the oldest bathhouse we've been able to find. But bathhouses and like public community bathhouses have been in a bunch of different cultures throughout time, and we're going to talk about them. So around 300 BC, public bathhouses became one of the most important buildings in the Roman Empire. Everyone, men, women, rich people, poor people, they would come together at the community bathhouse. And this is a quote from PBS Secrets of Lost Empires, Roman Bath. It must have been a sight that the modern mind finds difficult to imagine. Not only is there splendor of the environment, but crowds of people. There's firm evidence that men and women did bathe completely naked together. And all the time, noise. Romans loved to converse and argue and discuss. People would be shouting and laughing. People would be drinking. Some people would have drunk too much. People would be singing in the bath.
It's so interesting because, like, I think of King Spa, and they, like, really ask you to keep your voice down, you know? And, like, which I like, I mean, obviously, but it's just, it's very
different vibes. We'll talk about Korean spas.
Okay.
So this is according to that PBS special. This is what a day in the Roman baths might consist of. So first you go into a medium heated room and you get oiled down by a slave, or an enslaved person. And you might put like dirt on yourself too, because then you go into the palestra, aka the exercise yard, to work up a bit of a sweat. Maybe do some wrestling, but nothing too strenuous. You just like want to get sweaty.
Yeah.
Then you go back inside, and since there wasn't soap, they would use an instrument called a strigil, which was like a scraping tool, and you would scrape off all the sweat, dirt, and oil from your body. And all of this gunk would get sprayed on the walls and on the ground of the bathroom. And Roman doctors would collect this gunk and they would mix it into medicinal ointments. So, sorry, my cat just woke up and meowed. So once you scraped all the dirt off you, then you'd get sponged down. And body hair was not in style at the time, so you could hire someone to pluck out your hairs for you. One at a time, including your armpit hairs.
Pluck it? I mean, God,
Yeah.
someone's got to be in there with a knife. Ancient Rome's, someone's got to think about like a knife. Like a butcher's knife or something. I'd rather a butcher's knife to the armpit than a plucker.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm not sure exactly how this works,
Oh,
but
God. Yeah.
then you would spend the next couple of hours soaking in a hot tub and socializing. And by hot tub, I mean like a gigantic pool with hot water.
Hmm.
And it's really like the technology that Romans used to build these bathhouses. As far as this, when this article is written, like people are still trying to figure out how exactly they did it, and they've tried to recreate it. So it's very complicated to get like these hot rooms and these hot gigantic pools.
And yet they had an enslaved person plucking you one by one to get your armpit hairs out. Very
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, maybe they had machines that could what are those called? Not dilapidator, but it sounds like that. You like roll it and it plucks out like a bunch of hairs at a time.
Okay.
Which also sounds painful, but
Yeah.
the Romans weren't the only culture to have hot baths or community bathhouses.
Mhm.
So there's the Turkish bath called the hammam, and it's been around since the 1600s. Purifying and cleanliness were spiritual acts. Hammams were also places to celebrate major life events like weddings and births. I would love to have a wedding in a bathhouse. And hammams still exist today. Visitors are given a towel, a pair of sandals, and an abrasive mitt. There's typically 3 main rooms: a hot steam room where bathers lay and get scrubbed or massaged, a warm room for bathing, and then a cool room for resting.
I feel like we had a friend who told us a story about a Turkish bath. They went to a Turkish bath like in
Chicago?
maybe Turkey.
Oh.
No, they were overseas, and like the person who was there like doing their bath for them couldn't speak English, and like they like got just pummeled with water. And like I was just like, it's, I guess for an American it could be shocking, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I sign up for that immediately.
Oh, yeah.
But
Please.
it's just like, it's funny.
Well, Russian bathhouses, I think there's one in Chicago, and it does offer these things. So this is a Russian bathhouse. They're known as banyas. They've been around since the 900s. Sorry. Slavic mythology has a banya spirit called Bannik, who hides under bathhouse benches and throws boiling water and hot rocks at disrespectful visitors. Like Roman bathhouses, banyas were for everyone. For the lower classes, it might have been like the only way that they could wash off. They were also used mostly on Sundays for a religious tradition called Veniki, which involves bathers hitting themselves with birch twigs. The purpose is to open pores, increase circulation, and also serve as an act of self-flagellation. I think that you can do that in the Chicago. They will like, slap you with birch twigs. Yeah.
I'm down. I feel like I've heard that a lot, though. Like there's, like with Korean skincare, they tell you to like pat your face, kind of, not like slap it, but to like kind of be firm and pat your face because it'll open your pores more and make things more porous. So I buy that. Slap my back, get me nice and open.
Yeah. Russian steam rooms typically have benches at different heights, so the higher the bench, the hotter it gets. So you can choose which bench to lay on. Okay, Japanese onsens. So onsens are natural hot springs, which are common thanks to Japan's plentiful volcanic activity. So don't say a volcano never gave you nothing. The practice of soaking in these thermal baths goes back to when Buddhism was spreading in Japan in the 500s. And because they're natural formation, some onsens have been around for thousands of years. Dogo Onsen on the island of Shikoku has been used for at least 3,000 years.
Wow.
Early Japanese texts mentioned that onsens were also for everyone, emperors and peasants alike. So that seems to be like a common thread. It, was truly for the community, like the theatre was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Okay, Korean spas are called Korean jjimjilbangs. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that. They've also been around for thousands of years, and you can go to them today. Chelsea and I have been to one outside Chicago that we're obsessed with.
Amazing.
And they're kind of a family affair. You will often see multi-generations there together. It's always separated, and it's always nude. So many Korean spas are open 24 hours and they offer lodging. So if you ever have an overnight layover in O'Hare or like, in another city, see if you could stay there overnight.
Mm-hmm.
This spa is close to the airport. Unique to Korean spas is the materials used. For example, jade may be used in the sauna to relieve joint pain and stress, and baked clay may be used for detoxification. Similar to Turkey, body scrubs are also common, using a mitt and milk and water to moisturize the skin while promoting circulation. Which we've done.
We've done it. You're as slippery as a seal when you get off that table.
And
they
it's
essentially
it's not
push you off
relaxing.
like a conveyor belt. They're like, and you're like, whooing, like a cartoon sliding all over the
I didn't
place.
realize that milk was in the water.
I'm interested
I'm
to
not
see
sure.
if they use that at King Spa.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised though if they did something like that, but
It's not relaxing though, I will say. They're exfoliating your entire body, but it's rough.
I know.
It's not like a massage.
When they got
but
to
it's
my
worth it.
feet, I'm so ticklish on my feet. Like they got, and I would like jerk, and I felt so bad because she was like clearly like gripping my leg like to keep me down, and I was like, "Lady, scrub every other inch. I cannot do the sole of my foot.
Leave the feet.
I cannot." And I didn't have my glasses on either, so I'm like totally 100% blind as this is happening. Anyway.
Okay, so one of the most famous Korean spas is Dragon Hill Spa in Seoul. It's 7 stories. And it has a seawater bath, a salt room, saunas, baths, a swimming pool, a fitness center, gardens, a food court, a nail salon, a golf course, an internet cafe, and a movie theater.
I think that's one of the things that makes Korean spas so interesting is like that they have so many amenities on the premises, like at the King Spa.
Movie theater.
Yeah. The King Spa where we go to, there's a food court, there's a movie theater, there's a room upstairs where you have big comfy chairs where you can like watch basketball games and like all the stuff. You can have all types of services done.
Yeah. And it really is like a family. I mean, there's kids running around, like
literally.
It's a great day.
Yeah. It's not necessarily the most romantic spa situation. So
no,
if
it's
you're
not
thinking
it is really
No.
a family thing. Like there's, it's not like a spa in the American sense.
Yeah.
There's signs that are like no PDA, nothing like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. This is not a hot tub, but I want to talk about Finland and their saunas.
Ooh.
There's 1 sauna for every 2 to 3 people in Finland. Nearly all Finns take a sauna at least once a week, even people who are incarcerated. And many families own portable saunas to take with them on camping trips. That's obviously the culture that I should have been born into.
What are we doing here?
I don't know.
We need to be in Finland.
Yeah. So when did like Western bathhouses kind of fall out? Like these community bathhouses. Well, during the fall of the Western Roman Empire in 476, the upkeep of communal bathhouses in the West ended. The church thought that bathing together would lead to sinful acts. It eventually picked up again, of course. But the tradition persisted in Japan and a lot of other countries, which lead us to today's modern hot tub. So the ones we know in the West were inspired by Japanese ofuros. These were wooden soaking tubs used for meditation and relaxation.
These are the big tall ones, I think, right?
Yes. But, well, then, I mean, you can still sit in them.
Right, yes.
But they're wooden, yeah.
Yeah.
After World War II, American troops who were in Japan brought back the bathing culture to the U.S. In the 1940s through 60s, most hot tubs were created in California, and they were made using wood from winery barrels. But the wood caused problems because they would leak, they would grow mold, they would corrode, and the tubs also had no filters, no jets or anything, so it was just still water. But a huge advancement came in 1956 with none other than the Jacuzzi brothers.
They were brothers?
Yeah, well, it was a bunch of them.
They were roommates? Okay.
So Candido Jacuzzi was an Italian immigrant with a grammar school education, but he had a young son who suffered from rheumatoid arthritis. So he adapted an industrial water pump that was originally used for agriculture, and he was able to put it in the bathtub with his kid to help give him some relief. So it was just a little family thing that they did to get the water pumped in the tub. But then, they realized they could market it. So in the 60s, the Jacuzzi Brothers' removable hydrotherapy pump was featured as a common prize on game shows. So the general public was like, what is this? Could we use this? In 1968, Roy Jacuzzi, Candido's nephew, invented the first self-contained whirlpool bath with the pumps built in, which he called the Roman, after the Roman bath. It all comes back together.
I love this. I love this.
And the bath was a huge success. In 1970, he added a pump, motor, heaters, and a filtration system, creating the beginnings of a hot tub. So once people realized that, it kind of blew up from there. Len Gordon, a Southern California contractor, had the idea to use fiberglass instead of wood, which made a big difference. And just over the next decades, different shapes and styles of hot tubs came out on the market, rose in popularity, especially during the 80s, 90s, kind of declined a bit now. But yeah, I'm not going to get too much into like the business of hot tubs.
Sure.
The rest is history. I'm going to end with a quote that I kept seeing in my research. Apparently, it's an old Korean maxim that goes, quote, "You're not really friends with someone until you've bathed naked together in a jjimjilbang." Look at that.
If anybody knows our origin story, it's at a Korean spa, getting nude and getting in the tubs. And that's a fact.
That is. So, I guess we're good then.
Okay. And I feel like, Grace, you told that story on NPR.
I did.
Is that one of your NPR ones?
That is one of my NPR ones. Which one? I have no idea. Maybe if I can find the episode, I'll link it in the bio.
Twists and turns galore in that one. I want to go to a spa.
I know. After doing my research, I'm like, I just need a warm soak. I do understand, like, a jacuzzi is a lot of upkeep and work, and it can be very expensive to run. And I'm worried that if I get a jacuzzi, I wouldn't use it as much. It's one of those things where, like, if you have it all the time, it becomes less special.
But I also feel like, to the point of, like, Finns using saunas, like, if it's important enough for your day-to-day, your mental health, like, you'll find a way to build it into your routine. Maybe it's not every day, but once a week is more than enough reason to buy a jacuzzi, if you ask me.
It would pay itself off in a couple of years.
It would pay itself off.
And
you better believe I'd be over there regularly. Be like, you'd come out in your backyard and be like, hey, I'm just soaking here for a minute.
That's fine. Perfectly fine. What I really want is a saltwater jacuzzi. Have you ever been in one? I've been in one once.
I've not.
It's nice because the issue, I feel like being in a jacuzzi all the time, it's like there's so many chemicals in there, like it's not good for your skin. But they make saltwater jacuzzis. I
would love to go to a natural hot spring. Actually, no, I did. I went to a natural hot spring in
smells
Santa
like
Fe.
farts.
Some of them did. Some of them, I guess, might not have been natural. Like there was a big pool that was just like room temperature, and then there was a ton of other ones. There was like a mud one, which was really fun.
Yeah.
We also really wanted to go to the in Santa Fe. They actually have natural hot springs. There is a Japanese restaurant and hotel spa situation that has like natural hot springs, and they have like the onsen, and like you can rent like a big private room with these incredible soaking tubs, but they're like booked out for months in advance. And I'm just like, okay, next time I will be there because it's amazing. The restaurant was great. I wish I could have gone to the spa too. But I did go to a different spa. Also good.
Something to look forward to. I feel like I've been to a couple different hot springs, but they're really nice. I mean, like I said, I love a hot soak, but then they have like that sulfur smell.
I know. Could you imagine? So, listen. We should make it a goal to either go to a Japanese onsen, like in Japan or Korea, go to a Korean spa in Korea. We don't necessarily have to go on vacation together, but if we go together, do our own separate things, but we need to do a day at a spa. Because I feel like it's like full circle. Full circle. We started
and
there.
And then we never talk again.
And then we end it there, officially.
All right. Sounds good.
Cool. All right. That's it.
So, barring that we don't, go to Japan and go to a spa, then I guess we'll see everyone next week for our next episode.
See you next week. We'll see what kind of glorious topics we'll cover then. Maybe we'll cover the same topic again. Hopefully not, because the whole point is that we never cover the same topics, but
That
see.
is the point. Follow us on Instagram or on Twitter at the Good Eve Girls,
Or Instagram at the Good Evening Girls.
or TikTok at the Good Eve Girls.
Send us a note. Say hello. We love chatting with you.
Keep curious.
Yeah. Keep curious, please. It's your curiosity that keeps us kicking. I said that last time. I'll say it again this time.
I like it. All right. Can't top that. Bye, everyone.
Bye.